Welcome to Episodes from the Garage, the official, unofficial voice of the Elite Girls Rugby League. 11 teams from Connecticut to South Carolina and some of the best girls high school rugby in the States. Listen in for game recaps, stories, interviews, and more from in and around the EGRL. Episodes from the Garage is made possible with support from Basecamp 31, a New Jersey nonprofit that brings individuals and businesses together to invest in healthy community and personal development through shared human experience. And now, episode 9.
Part 2.
So this is a great segue into Penn State, right? Because we're talking about you being a U16, making that commitment, saying, geez, I like soccer a lot, but I really love rugby. And then let's take it into Penn State because that was a pretty formidable 4 years over there. So we'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. For college, I knew I wanted to play rugby, and I knew I wanted to study nursing. So that very much limited my college options and my college search, which was actually kind of nice because there's 1,000
It makes it easy, right?
Universities. So that narrowed down my search right away. I also knew I wanted a full college experience. If something happened and I couldn't play rugby, I still wanted to be happy at the university. I wanted that big university feel. Sure. So Penn State just made a lot of sense. I did pursue, other universities, talked to coaches, went through the whole recruiting process, but Penn State was just a really good fit for me. Nice. At the time, the USA national team coach was also the coach at Penn State. So I do attest a lot of my USA success to being under the eyes and under the radar of USA coaches. So that was another,
call her out because she's a great person for sure. Yeah.
Oh, she.
Yeah.
Well, at that time it was Pete Steinberg and then Kate Daly.
And Kate Daly, yeah.
So both have been very influential in my rugby career. And also Penn State wasn't a huge push with rugby. We were very, very successful in rugby, but they really focused a lot on the person. And it was really important for me to pursue my nursing career. I knew I wanted to be a nurse and do more than rugby, and I liked the balance they were giving me. And my older brother went there, and I went to visit. It was really fun. So that also
it is a really fun place.
It's Happy Valley.
Not for nothing. Anytime you go out with Blaze, it's a fun time.
Fair. Well, I don't know. It's not hard.
So
noted.
Highlight from your time with your Penn State cohort.
Yeah, Penn State was really unique, and every spring break we did a rugby trip to Europe.
Oh, wow.
Every spring break?
Yeah, so 4 years in a row.
Wow.
I went to Spain and France. Terrible. Yeah, Spain and France freshman year, Italy, and then Ireland, and then England. So everyone was talking about traveling abroad and studying abroad. I'm like, I don't have to do that. I'm going to go on spring break. So that was really cool to get introduced to international rugby, travel. When you travel with your college friends or any friends, it's just like a bond that bonds you for life on, spending that extra time together. So that's definitely the highlight for me.
That's awesome. Yes.
Sticking with Penn State, something outside of rugby that I know you went to or you were involved in because Penn State rugby camp was always the same time as Thon. And I know you did Thon because we went in there and we watched you. But I remember you got really attached to the family. The rugby team, or was it the rugby team was supporting?
Yeah, so Penn State has something called Thon, which is a 46-hour dance marathon.
Oh, my goodness.
It's the largest student-run philanthropy in the world, which is really cool, completely student-run.
Oh, wow.
$14 billion a year for pediatric cancer.
It's impressive.
It's
very impressive.
I mean, that's...
Is this just U.S. based?
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, Penn State's they have world campus, so it is a worldwide thing. But it's a 46-hour dance marathon, so very long time. I had the privilege of dancing in it. We had each year 2 rugby athletes got to do it. So it's no sleeping, no sitting.
Oh, so it's
on
not
your
tag
feet.
team. You're there. You're
on your feet
the whole time.
The whole time.
Wow.
No sitting, no sleeping. But you sponsor a family of a child struggling with pediatric cancer, and they're with you all year. So our family, Logan was the little boy's name, and he got to come to all our rugby games, so he would follow us the whole season. And so that was super special and just a really cool way that rugby gave back.
That is crazy.
That is a great story. Penn State kind of puts us on the springboard for the World Cups and being part of, the USA Eagles.
Time. Something we got to talk about hasn't even been brought up. Junior Olympics.
Oh, good one. We didn't put that in
China.
there. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Tess. I remember everything.
Jeez.
Okay.
Who'd have thunk it?
Well,
It's got my resume.
It's like
I'm
a steel
trying to
trap
steal
over there.
his job. I keep telling you that. I don't want to do the camera.
Hold
dial it
on,
back.
hold on. All right. China.
we
Should I talk
digress.
about it? Okay. Yeah, so in high school, I got really my first USA rugby opportunity to attend the Youth Olympics, which happened in China in 2014. It was the first time that rugby was going to be in an Olympic event because it was going to be in the actual Olympics in 2016.
Okay, cool.
So this was like the first Olympic event that rugby sevens was going to be in. So yes, I had the honor of getting chosen for it along with my Mars teammate Kat Ramage. So we got to go to China together. We ended up taking fourth. We played China in the third place game, and we lost. But it was an incredible experience. You had all sorts of sports in one Olympic village. They built an Olympic village just for the Youth Olympics. It was the whole experience that you'd have at the actual Olympics a few years later. So that was really special. And that's where I had my first kind of insight on meeting other rugby athletes from across the country. We had a lot of Fallbrook girls on that team,
Sure.
some from Utah, some from Vermont. So that was really my first look like, wow, I can meet people from not only all over the country, but all over the world
Everywhere.
playing the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you're going to the other side of the world for that. I mean, that is fantastic.
And who are the captains?
It was me and Rochelle, who went on to play. She played at Fallbrook, and she went on to play
He really
in the
doesn't forget
2016
anything.
Olympics. So
Forgets nothing.
Mind like
Nothing.
an elephant. Belly
Nothing.
like one too.
That's why I asked you to read the agenda so
I
that
don't
we
need
wouldn't
the
have
agenda.
interruptions like that. This is a professional
I
operation,
just like making
Bill.
it hard for a
And then on
bride.
November 14th in 1997, what happened?
Exactly. We
Where
brought
were
the
you
savant.
on the day of...
Turn that light on him. Back to the World Cups. And back to, let's say, the first phone call you get where, like, hey, Tess, we'd like you to wear the national jersey. Like,
Right on.
I mean,
Well, how does that go down?
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
So, I actually had a very unique experience with receiving my first senior side national team cap. I was playing with the U23 national team in a tournament in Utah. We were playing against Canada in a 2-series match. We played the first game. We won. I played well. I was playing fullback at the time. And that night, Pete Steinberg, the national team coach, called me into a meeting. He said, "You're not going to be playing with the U23s next game. You're going to be coming up and playing with the senior side national team."
Yeah.
And I was like, I was 20 years old at the time. I was like, wow.
Okay.
Okay, exactly. So I actually really didn't even have any practices with them. I had a day of practice, one captain's run, and then I was put in as a sub. I was wearing number 23, and I got put on the wing against England in July of 2016 to get my first senior
Wild.
side cap. So
that's
definitely
amazing.
was thrown into it. Typically, you're invited to the tour, you do the whole prep camp, and then
Sure.
you get your cap. But
Yeah.
mine was a little different.
Like mind blower. Like
Feury, we need you. Okay.
bad news. You won't be with the U23s. Good news. You'll be with the senior team. Go over there.
Definitely was intimidating. Luckily, I had one or two teammates from Penn State who were seniors at the time who were playing with the national team. So I had a couple familiar faces, which was nice. But, I think they were trying to demonstrate that pathway.
Yeah,
You play
yeah.
with the U23s and you perform,
Sure.
then,
That's how it's supposed to
that's
go.
what
This is
happens
how it
next.
goes.
So I think they were trying to kind of set that precedent. So, yeah, then since 2016, I've had 18 caps with the national team. So
That's
it's
Wow.
pretty fun.
That is fantastic. Talk about a couple, let's talk about, a couple of really memorable caps for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're all memorable, but there's probably a few that stand out.
It's true. Every single one is very memorable. Like, I don't take any opportunity for granted to wear the USA jersey. My first start was a really exciting one. We were playing in France, 2-game series against France in France, and I started on the wing, played the entire game, and it was a massive stadium, like full stadium, and we played at 9 p.m. at night. And they had so many fans, completely packed stadium. They had a full marching band playing the entire time,
Wow.
so I could barely hear anything. You know, like I was listening so hard to my teammates, and it was just kind of a really big aha moment. Like this is the real deal. Like there's, especially over in France, they take rugby so seriously.
Yeah.
So that one was definitely memorable for me.
And it's a little bit more of a carnival environment, right? It's
yeah.
like French rugby is a little different in the stands than in other places, I think.
No, exactly. I was just so shocked with how loud the fans were. They never stopped singing, never stopped screaming. It was a crazy environment.
That's very cool.
Can't wait to go.
Yeah. Countdown is on.
Yeah, for the Men's World Cup, it'll be a good environment for sure.
We'll be catching up with your dad over there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, they're excited for it. I know. I wish.
No, your mom and dad, yeah.
Yeah, they haven't missed a World Cup. Well, my dad hasn't missed a World Cup in years now. And now he's on a really good trend for the Women's World Cup. So I said, you got to keep that up. You're not allowed to
right
miss
on.
those either.
That's fair. Very fair. All right. And so we were just wrapping up on some World Cup experiences. Dobbs brought up a great point about the when you were in high school and you went over to China representing the United States with another former high school teammate, Kat Ramage. Let's transition away from the national team and start talking about your professional career. And let's kick it off with
Wild card.
Railroad.
Oh,
Wild card. I don't want to transition away yet. I have a serious question. Well, curious more than anything. Since you've been on the national team, you've been through many head coaches.
Okay.
How has this affected the team? Since you've been through it all, every coach has their own philosophy, their way of doing things. How has that helped or hurt you as a team?
interesting.
Yeah, definitely have been through a lot of coaches. They were kind of, each coach I've had was there for a full World Cup cycle, so that was helpful. So, yeah, my first national team coach was Pete Steinberg, so I was under him at the 2017 World Cup, and, you know, he took a chance on me. I was one of the youngest ones, kind of brought me there for experience. He was really big into consistency with players. You know, he would put out a consistent roster every game. You know, you could go on tour and not get a cap. You know, he wasn't really looking to try new people as much. You know, if it wasn't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Was kind of his motto. Really, really big into team culture. So, you know, he built a very strong team culture at Penn State, and he brought that into the national team. But at that point, you know, everyone on the national team had full-time jobs. We were kind of just assembling for camp and playing a game. So he did really have like a difficult, you know, like hand to deal with.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I mean, we finished fourth of the 2017 World Cup, so he did something right for sure. The next cycle for this past World Cup was Rob Kane, who was an English guy who came in to coach us for the past 4 years. We were definitely all pretty hesitant at first, you know, having someone from, you know, who hadn't been with the USA Rugby under that umbrella for a while. Personally, I had to really work my way from the bottom. He started from the bottom, you know, nobody had an in. He made everybody work from the bottom of the totem pole up. And at the time, that was frustrating.
Sure.
You know, I went...
Yeah, it's like a blank slate. Like we're starting over.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
I went 3 years without a national team cap, which is a pretty long gap to have.
Yeah.
And that was pretty difficult for me, but you also have to respect that. You know, you would want a clean slate if you were a new player coming in. He had coached professionally for Saracens women's team in the English Premiership, so a very successful program.
Sure.
So we knew he was doing something right. And I think we just had to give him a couple years to, you know, get his feet under him. And then now we are actually in search of a head coach. We have a position that was posted a few weeks ago for the head 15s coach for the women's program. So that search is underway. Supposedly we're going to have someone in place this fall for our next set of USA games. So
Wow.
we'll see.
Yeah, I would imagine that kind of like, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? On the one hand, you can respect it, like the idea of like, hey, everybody starts from the bottom and I'm going to give it a true evaluation. Like, okay, fair. But for those that have worked their way already, it's like, wait a second, you just chopped my legs out and I'm starting again.
Yeah.
And I could see where that would be
Difficult.
I mean, I would imagine that some players just sort of like, nah, it's not for me.
Yeah. I suspect so, right? You put in all that work, your expectations are you're part of this, and it's like, wipe it clean. It's like, hats off to you because you decided that, that wasn't for you and you were going to find your way back. I mean, I'm sure that took a lot of work.
Yeah, thank you. Rob Kane, capped a ton of young new players right away.
Sure.
Players who, received one cap and now I don't even know where they're playing, So
Interesting.
people would have their opinions on if that was good or bad, but he wanted to cast a really wide net and then narrow it down towards the end. But yeah, there's pros and cons to everything. And now again with this new coach, like, you got to come in, whoever it may be, come into every practice ready to go, We have a pretty short cycle to the next World Cup. It's in 2025 already, which is soon, 2 years away. So we're going to really have to hit the ground running.
Where's that one?
England. So very accessible to people in the U.S.
Absolutely.
So start planning those
We'll
trips.
be needing a trip.
Sounds okay.
Tour. I think another tour.
Yeah, I like
terrible.
it. I like it. Yeah, for certain.
Got
Yeah.
lots of connections in England now that I've been playing over there professionally, too. So I can hook you guys up with some.
Any U18 connections?
Oh, yeah. They have lots of teams over there. We can definitely set something up.
2025. I like it. Let's get it on the calendar.
The villain says, stroking his beard.
So we just touched on the professional career, right? Let's go back to, when it started, if I'm not mistaken, with railway.
Railway.
Thank you.
Railway.
That's a word I can't say, railroad. And then to where you are today. So let's kick that off.
Yeah. So basically, I knew that the rugby landscape in the U.S. wasn't enough to sustain my international rugby goals. I knew I needed to be playing more full-time rugby in a full-time environment. So in 2021, I was looking to go over and play in the English Premiership League where a lot of the USA girls were heading. Fortunately, it's a pretty hard league to break into. They have international cap rules, only a certain number of international players. They have salary caps. It's a fully professionalized league. So I wasn't able to break into it that year. So I decided to take my travels to Ireland, and I played with Railway Rugby Union in Dublin, which truly set up my success to make the World Cup team that year. It's considered semi-professional because we're not paid to play, but they do help you with resources. They gave me housing and found me a cash job and complete full-time coaches and S&C facilities, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We ended up winning the All-Ireland League that year, which was really exciting.
Not terrible.
Not terrible at all to walk into, and I got to live in Dublin for a season. I actually lived right next to Aviva Stadium. I could see the scoreboard from my bathroom window, so that was pretty cool. Got to go to every single Ireland home Six Nations game that year as well. With tickets from the club, so I
nice
was
area,
living the
too.
rugby dream.
Okay, yeah, that's beyond not terrible. That's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a good perk.
it was awesome. I was the only USA player on the team, so I definitely, was pretty nerve-wracking.
Sure.
I've traveled all over the world, but not for that, a full season on my own.
Sure.
So definitely a big learning, growing moment for me as a young adult to do that. But the rugby I played there set me up to make the World Cup team. And so I really owe a lot to that program.
So you mentioned something there that I would love to, I don't know if it'll make the podcast, maybe it gets edited out, but I'm super interested. What does a professional schedule look like? How many training sessions a week are you doing? How much S&C are you doing? Are they structuring your programs? Are they just giving you guidelines? What does that look like?
Yeah, so now that I'm playing over in the English Premiership League, which is fully professionalized, it's a full-time schedule. So, you'll games every week. The Premier 15s is an 18-game season from November to June.
Wow.
So it's almost triple the amount of games you would get in the Women's Premier League in the U.S. So
that's a durability comes in. That's a real thing for an athlete.
Really long
games.
season. They set a standard they invested a lot of money into the league. Every club, has to meet like an operations standard. So certain number of coaches, full S&C, facilities, salary minimums, like the full 9 yards.
That's awesome.
But yeah, full schedules, like typical day, you wake up, you have lift, then maybe you'll do a skill session, you'll have a break, you'll go into a meeting, you'll go into another skills session, you'll have a meeting, you'll have a practice.
So you're doing
That's a
3 to
big
4
day.
sessions a day,
Yeah.
active, in addition to meetings. And you're doing that how many days a week?
Depending on the game that week, 3 to 4.
Wow.
You'll have one day off during the week.
Wow.
You'll have the day after the game off, and
Sure.
then you'll usually like a Wednesday off. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, it's pretty heavy. But
That's-
I mean, you're a full-time athlete. That's what you're
Sure,
doing all
sure.
day, and it's really cool to work on like the micro skills.
Yeah.
For example, like I'm a kicker. There's a lot of different types of kicks in rugby. And when I was working full-time, I'd maybe have time to work on just goal kicking. Whereas now I can goal kick in the morning and kick for touch in the afternoon and work on grubbers at night.
Wow.
cool.
You can really expand
Yeah.
your skill level.
Yeah.
And the access to coaches is unreal. They have specific skill coaches, S&C, speed. They have the whole 9 yards. So it's really
Yeah, I think that's a really cool insight, especially for the aspiring athlete, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like that is another level
Yeah,
altogether.
yeah.
Like, I mean,
This is
even-
your job. Like,
Yeah, I mean, even like the kids who are going on with their mind saying, "Hey, I want to go play D1 Naira." Like that's what we're getting, right? Okay, I want to go play on a Naira school, and I want to play D1, and we're saying, well, that's this many sessions a week, and that's S&C. Mm-hmm. This is like double that,
Right.
by the sounds of it. Like that's wild.
And it sounds like a lot, but when you're doing it full time, it's very
Yeah, I mean,
manageable.
sure.
Yeah,
You have the full day, but like the fact that it's structured like that, I can see where the improvement would be. Like, yeah, you would J curve
Huge.
in that kind of an environment. You have that much access to coaching and skill development.
Yeah.
Like a year of that could be really wild.
Even just a season. I mean, like, I encourage anyone who can put themselves in a full-time environment for a summer, if it's a college athlete,
Sure.
like, huge improvement.
I'm just blown away that you can compartmentalize a skill like that. It's like, hey, we're gonna goal kick in the morning.
Yeah.
We're gonna kick for touch in the afternoon. Oh, and then at night we're gonna work on some up and unders, or it's like, that's amazing.
But at the international level, like, those little micro skills matter so much. Like,
Yeah.
that's the difference
Love it.
between, like, scoring a try, not making a team,
Sure.
not. Sometimes, and, like, you have those days you really don't want to be at practice, and I'm there, and I'm like, Tess, you're getting paid to play rugby. Like, that is, like, you're a professional athlete. That is so many people's dreams, and you snap
That's my
back
dream.
into it,
Wait, where do I sign?
right?
No? Oh, damn it.
It is. Signing like my first professional contract last year was pretty cool. I was like, wow, this is something I never thought you'd get to do.
That is pretty cool.
With rugby.
So I'm sure you have walk-ons at every practice.
And in England?
Yeah. So like certain things you get from video, or they're seeing on video, and these are your walk-ons we want you to
Oh, yeah.
work out with before practice starts and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's really great that our USA coaches work really closely with our club coaches to give us like individual development plans. So it's nice that they're working side by side. They're having Zoom calls because I love playing professionally is amazing. But my main goal is to keep representing the U.S. Like that's like my big umbrella goal. So to know that the coaches are giving me that feedback and they're working together to make sure I'm working on what I need to is like really important. And
That is cool.
That's great. Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that they would take that kind of, like they would invest that deeply. I mean, I guess everybody wins if you do. That makes sense. It's logical.
Right.
But-
right. Invest and everybody wins. Right.
Sure.
It's,
Yeah, like all boats rise kind of a scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, even the league, like the Premiership League, they make their schedule around the international schedule.
Sure.
So the whole reason our schedule starts is November is to leave room for the WXV international competition, which is in October. And then we take a Six Nations window break for the league. So
Okay.
then all the international players can go play. So they're really structuring the league so then people can succeed at the international level.
So what do you do in a downtime when your teammates head out for Six Nations? Like, does training still continue for you? Most likely, I suspect.
For USA, we schedule test matches during that
Okay,
time period. So we'll have a set of test matches. But if you're not an international, level player, but you still play professionally. They have what they call cup games, which are just more, they're technically friendlies, and they can still train. So the full-time environment's still there for the people who don't, represent their country.
So it's continuous, basically. It's there's a not saying there's no break, but there's continuity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because all that staff's full-time. I mean, it's full-time
Sure.
coaches and everything, so they're there to coach rugby.
So are there more of you as far as like USA Women's Eagles making the way over there? Like, are you seeing more of your compatriots playing for your team and other teams?
Yeah, so this past season there was 23 USA national team players playing in the Premiership.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
This year, I believe it's going to be a little less because they got stricter on the international qualified player rule, which again is making it more difficult to stay in the league. But England wants to develop their players, which is like completely fair.
Sure.
So right now, to my knowledge, the professional leagues in the world are England, Australia, New Zealand, France, and I believe Japan just launched a professional league as well. So there are other options besides the England one, the Premiership, but right now that's just the top league in the world.
One of the things that jumps out at me there, though, is that like the countries you just rattled off clearly have a strong rugby infrastructure to begin with. Okay, so fair enough. But you would think that investment is going to pull them away if we don't send players to these leagues or start our own. Right?
100%.
I mean, like the U.S. pathways, the U.S. up-and-comers have to be playing at that level or they're just going to get left behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, especially 18 games compared to 6.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's wild.
Yeah, the upside and the downside, right? It's
Right.
hard on the body, but the experience is exceptional, right?
You can't mimic game time. Like,
Yeah,
that's
right
just
on.
not something, you can practice all you want, but mimicking the high pressure of game time is like truly why I love playing overseas, because we just get more games.
I mean, we say that all the time. The girls only get better by playing.
Yeah.
Practicing?
Yeah.
No.
And you're playing full 80-minute games.
Yes, as back three, you typically are expected to last the whole 80 minutes.
That's
Sometimes
a
you guys don't.
fair amount of
Depends.
minutes. I mean, on a season.
There's a pretty cool
impressive.
Instagram account called Eagles Overseas, who I believe he's just a volunteer, but he tracks all the USA Eagles who are playing in overseas leagues, and he gives stats every week. So
That's
he'll
pretty cool.
give like who played the most minutes the whole season, who scored the most points that weekend, and that was very eye-opening for me. I actually, this past season in the Premiership, I came in halfway through because of the World Cup, and I still played a significant amount more minutes than people who were there all season, just because as a back three, you're expected to play the whole game.
Yeah.
So pretty cool stats that we're provided with.
And what was that handle again? That Twitter handle?
Eagles Overseas.
Eagles Overseas. I think.
I'll send you the link. I have it.
It's a
Okay.
cool
We
account.
should spread it out with
Yeah.
the team as well. I think that's a kind of a indirect way to support our Eagles over there as well. So
Yeah, that's a really good account. And then just following the Women's Premiership Instagram, they put up really good highlights, game results and stuff. And even just the highlights are so good for young players to watch. Like, because there's so many men's highlights out there, you don't really see women's professional
Right,
highlights.
right,
So getting
right.
those week in, week out is really cool.
That's very cool.
So I had a question come in over text. Says, ask about the commitment it takes to be an Eagle when it's non-paying / professional.
You got it. That's a good one. So
Comes from the audience over there.
USA Rugby is not fully professional. Other countries are England, New Zealand, France,
I heard Scotland just went that way.
Scotland.
Yep.
They are all fully professional,
Yeah.
which means in addition to what they get paid for their club, they're getting paid to play for their country, and they're compensated for their time. So we are compensated for our time at USA Rugby, but only when we're directly there. So we don't get any sort of financial resources when we're away.
okay.
Which is difficult. And even when we were in session, we're really not compensated what we deserve. Obviously, it's a big.
Yeah.
Money's always like the big thing. We can't just bring it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Is it the same with the men's team?
They do make more than us on a daily basis.
Ooh.
Their daily per diem is more, which is tough. But
Yeah.
we're making more than we ever have. When I first started playing for the U.S., I was buying my own flights to camps and paying camp fees and wasn't getting paid at all. And now all our travel is completely covered, and we are getting paid a daily per diem. But again, it's not enough to really sustain. I mean, we have girls on our team who have families, and I'm very lucky. Maybe I'm lucky.
Sure.
I don't have a mortgage, and
Yeah.
currently don't have rent to pay because I'm playing in England. So, there's a lot of life goes on outside of rugby.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is more need for support. But seeing these other countries go fully professional is like really, really special. Like England just contracted 30 players through the 2025 World Cup and 6 developmental players, including full maternity leaves, which there's multiple players taking advantage of.
It's
Wow.
wild. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. And I just keep coming back to this idea of, like, that's not a level playing field.
No,
at the end of the
absolutely
day,
not.
like, you hate for it to be about money. And, like, okay, fair enough. We could debate that all day long. And, happy but not satisfied is kind of what I hear you saying there, and, like, fair. But, like, the idea that when the investment is here in your competitors who are they're all assuming they're in the top 4, right? And our investment is here, whether we have the money or don't have the money. It's like, man, that's a slog uphill. Like, that's no joke for the athlete to try to pull that off. And I mean, I don't know, my brain goes into like, all right, well, what do we do about it? Which obviously is beyond the scope of our podcast, but wow, that's a big deal. It really is.
Yeah.
Well, if you remember from Mars, was it Mars? No, the second one. That was still Mars, right?
It was still Mars, yeah.
When they had the museum there.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how they were fundraising and doing all this stuff just to get to that World Cup, the first World Cup
Yeah.
that the USA won, where the coach is paying money for players to travel out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
And those stories, I don't know if you ever get to see the history of the museum and stuff, but it was amazing what those women did to get that team to that World Cup. It was crazy.
Yeah, I just feel like I sit here and I say to myself, like, man, we can do better.
Yeah.
We're the biggest sports market in the world.
We are the wealthiest country in the world, for crying
Like,
out
we
loud.
have to be able to do better. And I mean, even if it almost goes back to your idea of, giving back and philanthropy and, like, that cultural sort of undertone that it's okay to give back and it's an important part of who we are. Like, man, like, there's got to be a way.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be a mechanism. We're not talking about millions. We're not talking about 14 billions a thon. We're talking about, like, 25 to 30 players and trying to set them up to succeed. I just feel like there's got to be a way.
Yeah. And I think that's the tip of the iceberg, because you talk pathways all the time. And I think the 25 to 30 players is important, but, with the size of the country that we are, with the wealth that we generate in this country, with the being on the cusp of the men's and women's World Cups coming up on 25 and then after, right? It's like, it's shocking to me that, there's just not, let's not call it a groundswell of support, but like somebody out there, like a willing partner, be it corporate or, independent, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I'm dying to know.
I mean, hell, we're competitive people. I mean,
For sure. And, like, we want to win. And, like, in 10 years, this thing's going to be in our hometowns. Like,
right.
Like, we fully expect to win that day. Like, what? But anyway,
We digress.
I don't know what the answer is, and I don't want you to answer this. I'm asking it rhetorically 100%. But, like, I'd kind of like to know, maybe off air, like, what is a meaningful number? You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
Because I think sometimes when we talk about professional athletes, we talk about, like, you imagine what we see in our market. And it's like, oh, well, that person's league minimum is a couple of $1 million. Like, I kind of don't get the feel like that's what you're talking about. Maybe it's a much more manageable number, and maybe
If that number was up there, she wouldn't be here right now.
that's what I'm saying. Like, so again, like,
I think she'd still come and hang out with us.
I don't.
I don't want. I'm not
those
trying.
guys,
I'm not
going
trying to
over there.
blow anything up, but I feel like it's probably a more reachable number than we realize, and it's probably people giving something that they might be willing to give. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
And these other countries are doing it, like we just said, like England, Scotland just went fully professional. Like, these other countries are doing it, and smaller countries than us. So
Yeah, we're 330 million, and pretty damn wealthy. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times already. But there's something there. We're just not hitting the right note yet. It's like But
I have nothing but time, and I don't have any projects to work on. So I feel like I'm going to go ahead and take the
God, we're all in trouble.
Take the financial state of USA Rugby. Go for
should
it.
be no problem.
I feel like I'm in Scanners.
What are we going to do next week? After this is solved.
Oh, God. This is how I always get in trouble.
Uh-oh.
That guy. That
All
guy
right.
over there.
Yeah. Anywho.
Alyssa Eyes on Heart's father.
Sad
gets me in
trombone.
trouble.
Move on.
My timing's impeccable.
All right.
So anyway, pulling it all together, any parting words for our guest, Tess Feury?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's watching, you're already a fan of women's rugby, so we already appreciate you, but it can't stop here. Like, you need to be getting out to your local clubs and helping with the girls and women's teams. You need to be
Here.
supporting. Yeah, you need to be supporting our USA national team.
Yeah.
If watching our games, following our scores, getting out to games when eventually they are in the U.S. All that stuff's going to make a really big difference long term. And just supporting the game where you can, whether that's going out and helping some girls play touch, giving a monetary donation, or supporting by watching. I just think that's really going to make the game grow. And Morris is setting a really good example here for what youth rugby, specifically girls high school rugby, should look like. So if you're watching and you think, I really want to start a girls high school program, or I want my program to look like that, the resources are here, and everyone here at Morris is willing to help. So please reach out.
Good point.
I don't. Yeah, absolutely. Send us the links when there are fundraisers that are happening. We'll donate and circulate as well to try to make the financial load easier to bear. We wish you the best moving forward from everybody here in the room. From
Wait.
Wild
Bill?
card again.
Wait a minute. On July 17th in 2001,
Wait. Something that's very
Five.
important. What are you wearing?
Oh, jeez, you forgot.
You forgot all about
we
it.
forgot two things.
You were
Actually,
so
I didn't
excited.
remember that one.
You better start.
were so excited.
You better start from the beginning.
You're about to be in this chair.
so we've got two things
You've
we
been
got to do.
demoted to third chair, buddy.
We've got to do what are you wearing, and then around the horn, and then we got to wrap it up.
We didn't even introduce ourselves.
Jesus,
Yeah.
who is that guy?
Everybody
I don't
knows
even know
who
who
we
we
are.
are.
His first time
How'd
watching.
they let
I
him
have
in
no
here?
idea who
What is
we
he
are.
doing in here?
All right, so Bill Dobbs, what are you wearing?
I'm
Wait,
Bill
wait, wait.
Dobbs.
Start out with it. Who the hell are you?
I'm Bill Dobbs. I am wearing Virginia Tech rugby. Oh, College of Science shirt.
Oh, nice.
Why?
Why are you wearing that?
'Cause I am bringing my daughter back there tomorrow.
Jesus.
7.5 hours there, then 7.5 hours back after lumping furniture up and downstairs. And so sophomore year of college starts tomorrow.
Flashing his sappy dad card.
Oh,
it.
wow, yeah. Ching.
The genuine article right here.
Good luck, Emily Dobbs. Year 2.
Right on.
Awesome. I'm jealous. I want to go to college again.
Me too.
She doesn't want to leave.
Me too. For real.
I'm Tess, and I am wearing a pretty old national champion shirt from 2015.
Vintage.
Vintage shirt. This
Yeah,
was
for sure.
my first national championship I played with Penn State.
That's
Nice.
pretty awesome.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that was worth hanging on to.
Yeah. Steph Aliprandi, and I'm sporting the fall collection from Jeff A. at Steamroller Rugby. Shout out to Jeff A. and Wendy, who do a great job for our EGRL apparel. Happy to have you guys as not just coaches, but business partners as well, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Steamroller.com? Is that it? Steamroller.com?
Steamroller.com.
All right.
It is now.
Yeah, and I am also wearing a Steamroller sponsored and or created frock. So I'm wearing the Select shirt, and one of the reasons
It's
why
very blousy.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I'm wearing the Select shirt is because we got word today, actually by email, that we are going to make the trip to Florida to St. Pete Beach for our second round and our second shot at Midwest Thunderbirds and USA South Selects Panthers. So EGRL is continuing to churn forward President's Day weekend of 2024. Yeah,
Be
Fantastic.
there or be square.
that's where you got to be. They confirmed USA Rugby is going to be there. We're not. There's a mystery fourth team that's being talked about. I don't know who they are, but yeah, so we're looking forward to it.
Looking forward to some summer weather in February and some really good rugby, because that's what we saw last time down there.
Yeah, right on.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Production O'Brien behind the cameras, Chris O'Brien and Brian Ahern, who's off camera tonight, as well as Nelson Primo Galarza and the very patient Andrew Eisenhart, who's sitting with us, who I know has much better places.
Celebrity
to be.
cameraman.
Alyssa Eisenhart's brother.
International cameraman.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. It was a two-man crew that went up to Canada, and that was great stuff. We can't say enough about it.
Yeah, we have to give you a round of applause because you did great on that camera. Audience is so big this time.
Held it together.
And from all of us to all of you, go Eagles. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Episodes from the Garage, the official, unofficial voice of the Elite Girls Rugby League. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Elite Girls Rugby League and follow us on Instagram at Elite Girls Rugby. Special thanks to our producers, Team O'Brien, Team Chef, Cameraman, and Guy Who Knows a Guy, Primo, Tess Feury, in-studio audience, Andrew Eisenhart, Irish Jer Batten, Tess Feury's dad, and of course our wives and daughters who entertain our crazy ideas and continue to associate with us respectively.
I am Iron Man.